This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment blog, coming to another edition of Movie Reviews and Observations, number 154. It's a pretty dynamic set of movies I watched this week. Not a lot in similarity. The first movie I watched was one of the latest movies that DC Universe has come out with since the Superman, Batman, Justice League, where, the whole universe ended, and then I've been making separate projects here and there and everywhere else. And this one was Legion of the Superheroes, where if you know this about this, is a futuristic superhero squad, and it's like a training situation for young heroes, and it's like the Justice League of the future. And you got Manel, Bouncing Boy, Triplet, you got the girl with the wings, and you got Saturn Girl, and there's like Phantom Girl, and then there's obviously Brainiac 5, and depending on what you watch, you got the cartoon from back in the day with Superman as a young kid joining the team, or in most of the continuity, Supergirl goes to the future to be more mature and become a better hero, and that's the plot of this, where Supergirl's got to save the day. And it's got Meg Dolly, which is interesting, the star of Zombies Disney movie franchise and American Housewife, and now she's on the Winchester prequel show, which is, Supernatural's prequel. So that was interesting. They've had Darren Criss still Superman, and Harry Shum was in this, and it was like, the voice cast actually, wasn't bad. And I was like, wow, this is good. And before I get to any other movie that I watched this week, it was the best movie I watched this week. That's the thing with the DC people. They're very good at making these cartoons and these movies. And yeah, it was cool that Gideon Alon's following the footsteps of her mother Pamela. She was Phantom Girl. Jensen Ackles is still voicing Batman. Matt Bomer's still doing Flash. Harry Shum, as I mentioned, was good as Brainiac 5. Ben Diskin, who I've heard of, was Arms Fall Off Boy. Jennifer Hale voiced the character. Yuli Lowenthal was Mon-El. And so, yeah, I was like, this was a good movie from start to finish. And that character's name is Dawnstar. Then I needed to watch something because this past week was the World Baseball Classic, okay? And I watched Morbius with Jared Leto and Al Madrigal, Tyrese Gibson, and Matt Smith, etc. And I will say this. All the critics and even fans, when the movie came out to the theaters, going, trash, trash, trash. One of the worst movies that I've ever seen in my life. Then we get my roommate and other people are like, this is a great movie. It's better than some of the Avengers films. And I'm sitting there to myself like, okay, Iron Man franchise, Thor franchise. I haven't seen Love and Thunder, but the first three of both Iron Man and Thor, great. 2 out of 3, Captain America, great. So far, the Spider-Man franchise, the latest one, great. The original one, 2 out of 3, not bad. The first Amazing Spider-Man was better than the second one. I haven't seen the third Ant-Man, but so far I have not hated any of the Ant-Mans. Saw the first Doctor Strange, didn't see the second one yet. Both separate Hulk films, all this other stuff. Saw the first Captain Marvel, whatever. The point is, I don't think this is the worst movie I ever watched, but I'm not telling you this is the best movie I ever watched. I thought it was in the middle. And nowadays, where people tell me that, let's see something here. How long is this movie? It's at 104 minutes with multiple post-credit scenes. Okay, how long is the Black Panther #2? People say it's like 3 hours plus. How long was Batman, the new one? 3 hours plus. How are these Avenger movies almost 3 hours? So the best part about this movie is it's an hour and 40-something minutes with 2 different post-credit scenes that were interesting enough. And I did like a lot of the fighting scenes and the idea of this guy's a doctor and, he's been trying to save himself and his best friend and other people of rare blood disease and all this other stuff. I like Tyrese Gibson of Fast and the Furious. Al Madrigal's a comedian, so they like to throw funny guys in the movie, even if they're not believable. And he's not like a hero. He's not an anti-hero. He's just stopping the real bad person in the movie. So I was like, you know what? Not bad, not horrible. I knew nothing about the character. It's in the Spider-Man universe. Cool. I don't know if they're going to make a sequel, but it was like, okay, it was good. It was good enough to sit through the first time. It's not a movie that you go back and watch. That's really what I want to say. Then I needed something to watch that was short the other day, and I watched this thing called Honey Girls, where I'm looking at this, and it says, Build-A-Bear Entertainment presents Grammy Award-winning singer, Ashanti, who's not an actress. Tessa Brooks wearing these dumb, nerdy glasses, and these group of, teenage girls or preteen girls all trying to be the next Ashanti, who's the fictional character that she's playing. And their group name is Honey Girls. And these girls, they teach you lessons of not everything has to be about a solo act. And they decided to learn the lessons of maybe it's better to have fun and be anonymous, but be a group. And it's like a movie with a bunch of music and dancing and stuff. So it's pretty much age appropriate. It's silly and stupid half the time. And I was like, you know what? I never heard of Tessa Brooks, but that's why. They say she's social media star. Again, Fancy G is the name that Ashanti played. This is the type of movie that if you're a little, a young girl, you watch this. If you're a regular person, you don't waste your time with this movie. One of the positives was only 80-something minutes. The next movie I watched was Amsterdam. And oh my God, this is not a short movie like Morbius or Honey Girls or even Legion of Superheroes. This thing is listed at 2 hours and 14 minutes. And I don't understand why, again, you got to make these movies long that are drawn out and boring. You're like, let's get Christian Bale, Batman. Let's get Marky Robbo, Harley Quinn. John David Washington, the son of Denzel Washington, Chris Rock is in a movie and he's funny and he does a screaming. Anna Taylor-Joy, she's a recent thing. Then Zoe Saldana's in the movie a little bit, and we know her from Guardians and the Star Trek franchise, to name some. And they said Mike Myers was in there. I do not remember seeing Mike Myers, and no, I did not fall asleep. Michael Shannon had a really good role, working for the government in this one. Timothy Olyphant played an ugly thing attacking them, which was interesting for a good-looking man. Taylor Swift was barely in the movie. And Rami Malek was an interesting person in the movie, and they had Robert De Niro. Basically, it's about, people in World War I dealing with the radicalism of, communism or Nazism within the government. There's, a group of people that control all the things in society secretly, and they said it's based off a true story, but not really. All these accounts, and these are veterans of World War I and how they're being treated. This guy's wife's own family treats him like crap, and his wife. And I was like, I think they spent the whole budget and on all the people in the movie that are, in the movie, and then the script is kind of lacking. And I'm thinking to myself, this movie was really long, a little bit drawn out of them trying to, supposedly save the day. And I'm wondering, who is Mike Myers? Well, now I realized he's the dude that's working with Michael Shannon. He has a British accent, and I couldn't recognize him, so that's a really good job out of them and him. But yeah, people are saying, oh, this is a great movie. Yeah, you try to get one of the greatest actors of all time, and Robert De Niro, recent up-and-coming good actors, Rami Malek, and Anna Taylor-Joy, and John David Washington, and current actors that we've already known that's been good, Marky Robbo, Christian Bale, and Chris Rock, and Mike Myers, the comedic legend, and Michael Shannon's one of the better actors in a while. You're like, yeah, let's get these people in there, and we'll get Taylor Swift. Yeah, I'm sorry. The three amigos, whatever this is, this trio of people trying to save the day for veterans' rights, it was okay, it's just not that great. A movie that I saw that was 2 hours and 10 minutes where I fell asleep and I got pissed and I went back to watch was Moonfall with Halle Berry, Patrick Wilson, John Bradley, Michael Pena, Charlie Plummer, Kelly Yu, Donald Sutherland, who was in there for 45 seconds to be like, hey, what are you doing, blah, blah, blah. And now people on the internet were like, oh, this, I've been told, and coworkers trashing it because it's a really weird science fiction movie, little bit over the top with the science and not true or whatever. I'm like, dude, science fiction is, you take scientific facts and you bend them a little bit to make the story make sense because it's fiction. I like the idea that the moon is crashing to Earth, that Patrick Wilson is a disgraced supposed astronaut, and there's a cover-up, and Halle Berry's still working for NASA, and she's got to come together with Patrick Wilson where they worked together before. Even Charlie Plummer's character was interesting. Michael Pena was interesting enough in the movie, and this British scientist guy, and they got to save the day, and they got to save Earth from being destroyed by the moon falling, aliens, technology. I really liked this. I enjoyed it. There was enough science fiction, enough action, enough not too much boring drama. Okay, you got the whole disgrace thing, estranged from his family, his son's issues, which kind of waste, which you can maybe cut down and make the movie a little shorter. But I really enjoyed this movie. Then I also needed something to watch that was short. And like a moron, I hit play and did not realize that the library wrote in Danish or English with English subtitles. It was called Flea. It's an hour and 20-something minutes. So I'm like, that's short. But it's basically, they decided to make a cartoon of a young Afghani kid who, when he was young with his children, his mothers, they They moved, and it's like 20 years like later with he's in Denmark. He looks back on his life, opening up about his past, his trauma, his family, his own sexuality, and they're like, let's do it through the animation. And if I knew that it was going to be, there was a chance for it to be dubbed in English, I would have been better, because it's very hard to pay attention with all of these subtitles in the time period I had. But when it's a cartoon, I can understand what's going on. The struggles of being Islamic and having a high being gay and how that affected him and his trauma his whole life. I understand the whole entire concept. I just thought it was interesting because it was a cartoon. It's not impossible to forget. It was okay. And the last thing I watched was this Moonage Daydream, a film by Brett Morgen, among the best films, they say, by Vogue Bowie, where this is like the first ever authorized, behind the scenes to look through all his performances and putting it all together. It's officially sanctioned. It's about a 2-hour and 10-minute journey. That's really what it is. You go on a journey and you know more about David Bowie. I already knew a lot about him, being one of my favorite artists, so it's just something you watch to enjoy yourself, be nostalgia, and remember David Bowie. But literally the best movie I watched this week was Legion of Superhero. Second best movie, I don't care if people say Moonfall was a great ride, and then I will say Bowie was number 3. If I had to choose a fourth, it would be that Morbius is watchable because it's not too long and it's an interesting story that I knew nothing about. Unless you really want to watch this movie because everyone's telling you to watch it, I wouldn't waste 2 hours and 14 minutes of your life watching Amsterdam. If you're not a child, like a teenage girl, don't watch Honey Girl. And if you're not interested in LGBT movies, then don't watch Flea. Thanks for listening to another show of Movie Observation number 154. For On the Radar Table Blog, I'm Radar. See you guys next time.